So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what was your favorite hangout spot at or near Lincoln High School, and what made it special?
It's a big rock. It's a big rock at the corner of the infield in front of the school. We all hung there because we can get all of our deviousness, our devilment out of the way, and it was sort of like a gossip spot for the guys and girls.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more. Did you ever skip school or play a harmless prank? It's safe to confess now.
You asked the wrong person, because my class would tell you that I was the prankster of the class, and I had a prank every day. I did several pranks. Pulled pranks on folks in the classrooms, like terrible thing, putting tacks in people's seats. I was the guy that got in trouble all the time, and they elected me president, believe it or not. But I was supposed to be the devil of the class.
Did you ever skip school?
Of course. Every Friday when Carolina would be playing a basketball team that was coming into town, me and my best friend James Weaver, we'd make sure the last period of the day we were down in not Carmichael Auditorium at the time, it was Woodland Gym, to watch the players that were coming in. I got in a lot of trouble, but I was the man.
Okay. I'm gonna ask the question. I'm gonna hold it to you. Okay. Okay. So my first question is, what song or artist instantly takes you back to your high school days, and why?
All of them. I liked all of them.
Yeah, another one? Okay, we'll do a different one. What fashion trends or hairstyles do you remember most vividly from your high school years?
Bangs, ponytails, and black and white shoes.
Okay. And then looking back now, what advice would you give your high school self?
Do good work, go to college, get a good job so you can make it on your own.
Beautiful. Thank you. What song or artist instantly takes you back to your high school days, and why?
Oh my. Sure, I like them all.
Okay. Okay. And then, were you involved in any clubs, sports, or organizations at LHS?
Yes.
Which ones?
I was involved in a whole lot of things like cooking and home economics and sewing, cooking, all of that stuff. And one of my favorite subjects was math and typing.
Okay. And then last question, looking back now, what advice would you give to your high school self?
I would say just be strong, pay attention, and try to learn whatever you can learn.
What was your proudest moment during high school years?
When I was in the 11th grade, I won a writing contest, which I wrote about the war, my personal perspectives on the war in Vietnam. We had quite a few class members who were already in Vietnam. I think a few had already been killed, and so there was a contest, and I won first prize, which got me a trip to Washington, D.C., and to New York City to the World's Fair at that time. And I went with my favorite teacher escorting me on the trip, Miss Alice Ballard. I presented my paper to, I forgot who, I'm saying the United Nations, but I forgot who it was, some government type thing. And then we left there and went on to the World's Fair in Washington, D.C. So that was a great moment for me.
And I'm going to ask you one more. Looking back now, what advice would you give your high school self?
To not be hard on myself. I thought I had to make a decision on what it was I wanted to be. And I said, well, I'm good in chemistry was my best subject. So I got to college. I was so dumb. I didn't know anything. But you know, to not be so hard on myself and to take my time. And you know, you're still young when you graduate high school. You really don't know what's out there. So if I had to do it differently, I did graduate college. I went on to grad school, but I didn't complete my master's, and that's my one big regret that I didn't. Because I could have, but there's no reason why I didn't. I just quit. But anyway, just not to be so hard on yourself. To take your time, figure out who you are, and be comfortable in yourself.
Thank you. Hi everyone, this is Frida Andrews, and I'm going to ask her some questions about her high school years. All right, the first question I'm going to ask you. Did you ever skip school or play a harmless prank? It's safe to confess now.
Greetings everyone, Frida Andrews, class of 1965. Of course, you know this young lady that's interviewing us is my granddaughter and my grandson who's filming this for us today. Rabi Alameen and Hamza Alameen. To your question, my dear, let me recall one year my best friend Betty Jean and I were late for school. And our principal, Mr. McDougall, would always sit out in the front waiting on latecomers. And he would give us our marching orders. So one day, we were late getting to school. We noticed he was sitting out there, but before we could turn around and go back, I see you, come on here, come on over here. You're too late for the day and too early for tomorrow. Just go on back home. Of course, being the two friends we are, we waited till he went inside. And then we sneaked back to our classes and hid the rest of the day so he could not remind us that we had been sent back home. So that was my classroom review of something I remember that was special to me.
Looking back now, what advice would you give your high school self?
Looking back, my advice to myself would be study harder, stop playing around so much and goofing off, stay focused on your goal for the future, enjoy life to its fullest, and never forget the bridge that brought you over. Praise those who are there for you, those who've gone on, and remember all of your classmates who have done great things in this world along with yourself. I've enjoyed a full life, and I'm thankful and grateful to God for all the goodness, all His mercy, and all His kindness. So I'm just enjoying life to its fullest. I just celebrated my 78th birthday, August 30th. Woo, 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 woo. Signing off. Thank you.
Can you remember a teacher who made a lasting impact on your life, good or bad? What do you remember most about them?
I remember Mrs. G.G. Clemens. She was Miss Gilmore, when we first started out, and she got married and became Mrs. Clemens. She was my typing teacher, and I love her so much, and she gave me so much advice about life, and not just typing, but about life. And I love her so much, and I miss her. She was like another mother to me. She as a matter of fact, she thought she was my mother, but she was my mother away from home, and I love her so much. Thank you.
Can you remember a teacher who made a lasting impact on your life?
Let's see, I'm trying to think. Maybe
good or bad?
I guess Miss Peace. I never will forget her.
Can you remember a teacher who had a lasting impact on you?
Yeah, Clark Edgerton. That's one.
Tell who it was. Who was Clark Edgerton?
My band director.
Amen to that. All right. Were you involved in any class sports or other organizations?
I was a cheerleader and the band. I did go out for the basketball team, but we had so many stars, you know, I was like left sitting on the bench.
Okay. What was your favorite class?
History and band. Okay. I like the music and history.
All right. I can go ahead and do mine. Okay. Because she made me remember what my favorite was.
Band, of course.
Band and chorus were my favorite subjects.
Because she was good at them. Just like we.
And Mr. Clark Edgerton and Miss Carnegie. She was, when we were really...
I'm so glad y'all do that. When she asked me, I told her my favorite teacher was
My favorite subject was home economics, cooking and sewing.
So Miss Pope was your favorite?
And then, wait a minute, Miss Clemens. I liked her because I was uptight. And then she come back, hit your face. Don't look at your head. And I said, I thank her now.
Yeah, because now you can use your computer.
That's right. You don't even have to worry about it. Yeah.
That's right. You know where the keyboard is.
Yeah.
That's right. And the most strange teacher we had was Mr. Carlos.
Oh, yeah.
He was our science teacher. He was very unique. And that's all I'm going to say.
My name is Earl Bynum. I'm a Chapel Hill native, been here all my life. Wouldn't live nowhere else but right here in Chapel Hill. We have everything we need. We got schools, we got education, we got recreation. Anything you want to do is right here. And as a matter of fact, I was born and raised right across the street. So my house sits right there that what I grew up in. So I know a lot about Chapel Hill, and I know a lot about Lincoln High School. Both of my sisters went to Lincoln High School, and my older brother went to Lincoln High School. And I had another brother that went to Lincoln High School. So it was just like I was going to Lincoln High School when they all came home, because that's all they talked about was what they did at Lincoln High School. And it sounded like they had a lot of fun. But what I liked about Lincoln High School, it taught them about respect. You know, when you see those kids come out that went to Lincoln High School, they walk like kings, you know, like they were worth something, you know, and they had something to offer. And the teachers just loved the kids, and the kids just loved the teachers. And they had a most powerful principal in the planet. His name was Mr. McDougal. And if they had Mr. McDougal today in these schools, the kids wouldn't be half as bad as they are today. You know what I mean? So after being here for 73 years, you know, I've seen it all. I've seen, you know, the good, the bad, and the better. So I wouldn't change nothing. I wouldn't change nothing at all, because what I got is priceless. You know what I mean? I learned from everybody, you know. And I'm just going to say this. Once a year, they would allow the students to bring their little brothers and sisters to school, you know, and we'd be running around the hall raising all kind of cane. But we got to let the students at the school know who our sisters and brothers were, and they knew who we were. So we couldn't go nowhere in town and do nothing mean and it not get back home before we did. You know, when we got a whooping there, then we got a whooping when we got home. So we got 2 or 3 whoopings just because of that. But it was the greatest thing on this planet, how these the class of 1965 love one another. They have a picnic every year, and not many other classes do that. You know, they just go ahead on about their business. But these people love one another, and they show it. So I just want to say thank you for giving me 5 minutes to say and get on my little stool so I could talk about Chapel Hill. I could talk about it all night long, but I know y'all got other people you got to interview.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What was your favorite thing in high school?
Playing football.
And what position did you play?
I played end.
All right, can you think of a favorite teacher that you had during that time?
My favorite teacher was probably Mr. Farrington that taught me algebra.
Oh, wonderful. Did you have any particular hangouts that you would sneak to when we were supposed to be in class, like I've heard some other people say?
No, I didn't sneak out anywhere because my mother taught me not to do that. I would be in serious trouble if she found out, and she would find out if I wasn't where I was supposed to be.
All right. What was your proudest moment?
Proudest moment, again, on the football team, we won a lot of games. We had a lot of pride in what we did. We had some great coaches and some tremendous players. So I was very proud to be associated with that group of people.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that information with us this afternoon.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
We're glad to see you here this evening. Can you tell us your favorite thing that you participated in, or the favorite thing that you liked when we were in school?
Well, mostly I just like going to the football games and sock hops, stuff like that.
Okay. Well, what would you say was your favorite teacher during your Here's that.
I like Miss. I think I like Miss Stone. Mute Stone.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
And
she was
what
my
was it
seventh
about-
grade. She was one of my seventh grade teachers.
Right, because you know, now they've divided middle school and high school, but our high schools were total from middle to graduation. All right, did you have any particular highlights? This has been more for the guys, I think, but I'm going to ask you that you wanted to get off campus and go somewhere.
Well, you know, I used to slip off campus and go down to Georgia store down the bottom of the hill.
Like everybody else.
Like everybody else. But
Yeah, the others were doing that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't a.
You don't want to eat lunch, you went down there and got
You
your
got some lunch. That's true.
Yeah.
All right. What was your, other than you said that you like Miss Stone, but what was your favorite class, the subject?
Well, math, I think.
Okay, and who was your math teacher?
That was, what's his name?
Was it Ross Farrington?
Ross Farrington.
Ross Farrington
He was
our
a
math
terrific teacher.
Yes, yes.
Yes, I liked him.
Okay, well, is there anything else you'd like to say about your time?
Well, you know, not really. Just glad I got a chance to graduate on time.
All right, well, thank you for your interview.
Dancing and reminiscing among home folks, family, and friends. Presented to you by this great, great class. I'd like, before we go into our program, to introduce two of our distinguished guests, Mr. Nita Mason Hogan and husband. Ms. Kennedy Lytle. Be very, very honorable. David and Mrs. Patricia Mason, class president of the Orange County Training School, Lincoln High School, Northside Alumni Association. Great man, great man. From Pottersfield, they came. From Turtles Creek, they came. From Sunset, they came. From Hickory Grove, they came. From Tin Top, they came. From Paris Mountain, they came. From Neville Road, they came. From Burnett Circle, they came. From New Development, they came. From Highway 54, they came. From Mill Road, they came. From Carborough, they came. From all over Chapel Hill, they came. And for a lot of us, it started right downstairs, right down there, right in the bottom. A lot of us. With Miss Robertson and Miss Lindsay at Home Days Nursery School, right down there, sleeping on those army cots. When we went to preschool and continued through the years of Miss Lucille Caldwell here, Billy Holgrave, whose son is named after, Horace Johnson, Albert Huey, and more. Had Catherine Davis, had Betty Jean Farrington. You had, what's here? Right across the street. What here? What here? Frida Ann Lynn. Used to wrap right over there in the yard, because they had one of the only cherry trees in the area. And she was trying to keep us out of the cherry trees. But if you roll up on them ladies the wrong way, you get the royal beat down. Ask the guys. Those ladies were great athletes also. Miss Clemens and Miss Bassnight were their leaders. Partially also hidden in our history to include Orange County Training School, Northside and Lincoln High School, periods where our sports history was legendary. That backfield that we had. The same class now, we're talking about royalty. There was Paul Farrington, Devon Bynum, James, Jimmy, Prince Ike Weaver, Stanabite. That's my boy, Stanabite. Ike was the center on that line. Ike was the center. Had Jake Hedden, had Walter Rat Farman, and the great one, that lonesome man. What was his name? That lonesome left end, what was his name? You tell him, bro, man. You tell him. Your boy, yours truly. Others may not know this, but we do. That particular year, this is no lie again. We averaged about 78 points a game in football that season. Our defense throughout the season constantly shut out teams. Till it has to be a state record. I remember we went down to Mount Olive, we played Mount Olive, and Coach Spearman had told us that, he never told us to go right on nobody. We just said, just try not to hurt them too bad. But when we got off the bus, you know, we were playing it was a cotton field. It was a cotton field. They had cotton all around the field. We went out there and they started talking junk as we would get off the bus, and he came back over to us. You know, I can remember this quotation. I don't want you to hurt anyone, but they're talking that noise. So I want you to go out there and beat the hell out of them. You know what I'm saying? Final score, 106, Lincoln, Mount Olive, nothing. Nothing. He pulled a lot of us at the beginning of the first quarter. And that was, that was one of the greatest thrills. And one of the greatest thrills of my life is to go to Chapel High School when you go to a football game. They have a Colton Purban Stadium. It should be in playing this particular occasion and just having a good old fun. We've met at the First Watch restaurant on Durham Chapel Boulevard every other month, and we had some good times. I would trade those moments for anything in the world. You know, we laugh, we joke, tell lies, talk business. But most of all, we've hung together over the years, and we just love one another. I have been proud to serve as your great president. Excuse me. So, ladies and gentlemen, and we all stand introducing the class of 1965. Please stand. Enjoy your evening festivities. Love you guys. Love you guys. Let's get this party started. Coming to the stage right now, we have the lovely Miss Lenora Light, who will do some introductions and do her thing.
I am so excited! Woo! We got this reunion. Hello, class. I brought my A game tonight. You are going to be so happy and so excited. I have not been able to calm myself for the last, I don't know when, but it's taken my daughter Angela and Otis to just calm me down because I am so excited. Tonight, I know we're pressed for time, but I'm not going to take a lot of time in the introduction, but I love this person so much. She just doesn't know how much. She is my heart. She's one of my heartbeats. I want to introduce you tonight. To you, I want to introduce Benita Mason Hogan. She is going to enlighten you on some good news, and her assistant, Kennedy Lyman. And would you please come forward and give us some good information.
I am incredibly honored to be here tonight to celebrate with you on the occasion of your 60th reunion. I am so excited to be here, and I want to thank you for inviting me and thinking of me and Kennedy to come before you. I want to say a special thank you to Cousin Edna Titus and also my auntie, Lynn Light. I also, of course, want to acknowledge and recognize my parents, Dave and Patricia Mason, as well as the best principal since Mr. McDougal, my husband Corey. And I want to say a special thank you to our Chair for Education for Equity, Ms. Angela Light. So I'm going to be reading my remarks in deference of time, because I really want you to hear what the lovely Kennedy has to say. We're so proud of her. So I'm going to be reading my notes. When we say mighty Lincoln Tigers, we mean it. This was a school that turned out excellence in every arena. Now, let me pause here. How many of y'all remember these mighty sports teams? Mighty what? Sports team. Oh, yeah. Mr. Hines, y'all's legacy was so bad. I was in Clarkston's class, and y'all's legacy was so bad, it extended into ours. How many of you remember the sound that the band made on a nice Friday night? Oh, yeah. And how many of you remember the sit-ins and participating in the sit-ins? So this is the mighty Lincoln spirit that I'm talking about. Lincoln was known for excellence in the classroom, on the field, in the band, and in the fight for justice. You had a band that shook the town, athletes with recording wins, and students whose courage sparked sit-ins that drew the attention of none other than Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. himself. Lincoln was history in motion. It was the Mighty Tigers who planned, organized, and carried out the first sit-in that we know about in this country that was conceived entirely by high school students. So shout out to you, Daddy, with the Chapel Hill 9. But that was Lincoln. And that was you. And it was this new breed of justice trailblazers who moved Ella Baker herself to invite the Mighty Tigers into the room at the founding of the organization that I now have the honor of working with at Duke, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, or SNCC. You all were the very bloodstream of history. Now I'd like to bring one of your classmates into the room tonight, posthumously, but very much alive in spirit, and that is my uncle, Ernest Douglas Mason, or, as you knew him, Doug. Doug and I shared something very special. We were both May babies, Tauruses. His birthday was May 3rd, and mine was May 4th. And I think this is why I'm so crazy about you, Cousin Edna, because I heard yours was May 5th. That's right.
We always celebrate together.
Yes, ma'am. And when I was little, Uncle Doug used to babysit me and my brother and my sister, and I never wanted him to leave my side. He was strong but sweet, and he had a great sense of humor, and I was his shadow. But behind his superior babysitting skills rested a hallmark of the class of 1965, and that is a brilliant mind. Doug was a product of this class. He came of age in a time when young black people were watching the world shift. Think about what's happening then. We have the Civil Rights Act of 1964, we have the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the assassination of Malcolm X. And in Chapel Hill, the struggle for desegregation was raging, and people knew about this struggle all across the country. So black high school seniors were walking into adulthood at one of the most charged, transformative times in American history. Doug channeled that urgency into scholarship. By the time he was 28, he had earned his doctorate degree from Emory University. He was offered positions at Yale and Stanford, the kind of offers that most people would dream about, but he turned them down. Why? Because my uncle said that he refused to contribute to the black brain drain, the steady siphoning of black brilliance into white institutions. Instead, he poured his gifts into North Carolina Central University, where he founded the honors program. His impact was so profound that NCCU now has a lecture series named in his honor, the Mason Sikora Lecture Series. That's his legacy, and that's the kind of tiger that 1965 produced. 1965 was more than just a year. It was the beginning of a new phase of the civil rights movement, what became known as the Black Power phase. This was a new generation of black people who were increasingly around white classmates and teachers who were told in big ways and small ways that their culture was inferior. But they had lived alongside white peers long enough to know that this was not true. And so instead of bending themselves to fit someone else's definition of greatness, they drew strength from their own powerful cultural experiences and took pride in them. So that same spirit of 1965 is what shaped minds like my uncle. He and so many others rejected the idea that only European literature, European music, or European dress were classic or worthy. Your generation brought forth the year of unapologetically embracing your own culture, natural hair, afros, and jazz, and scholarship that was rooted in black culture. This was the Black Revolution. My uncle studied the Harlem Renaissance and published papers on Alan Locke, the founder of the movement, who told us to embrace our own beauty, our own minds, and our own art. To me, that was the gift of 1965. Entering a new world, but carrying the knowledge and confidence of our past with us. But here's the hard part. That gift wasn't handed down intact to me and Angela and Clarkson's generation. Your children weren't taught by Miss Pope or Miss Battle. Mr. McDougal wasn't at our door telling us that we were too late for today and too early for tomorrow. We didn't sing the Lincoln Fight song or even know how to romp-de-dump-de-dump. And when desegregation came, Lincoln lost 75% of its teachers. And those who did keep their jobs were often pushed down to assistant roles, doing the work white teachers would not or could not do. So when my class, the class of 1985, came along, we were told something very different. We were told that black people fought for desegregation because our schools weren't good enough, and because black children needed to be educated to be on par with white students. That was a story. But class of 65, we know the truth. A truth that is bigger, stronger, and rooted in pride that cannot be erased. Doug's story is not just family history for me. It's a guidepost. They cut off the rough edges. So about a year ago, my cousin Kenny Mann was bragging about the class of 1965, and you know cousin Kenny can brag. He told me that the Lincoln Tigers of 1965 had the highest grades in the state, black or white. Now, I have to admit that shocked me, not because I didn't believe cousin Kenny, but because I've studied the educational trends in Chapel Hill since the desegregation. And what we've seen for 60 years now is not black academic excellence celebrated, but an achievement gap, or I prefer to call an opportunity gap, which has persisted and grown for almost 60 years. So when I heard cousin Kenny's story, I thought to myself, how could this be true? How could we go from making the best grades in the state to an achievement gap that has existed for 60 years? And we're talking about in a generation, in a couple of years. So I went and decided to spend a week at the archives in Raleigh, and I studied specifically the reports for the classes of 1965. And this brilliant young woman standing beside me tonight, Kennedy, is one of the reasons that I do the work that I do, because we need to tell the truth to our children. We need to let our children know what they are capable of. So I work with a young group of scholars called the James Cates Scholars, named after, of course, James Cates from Chapel Hill. And we center local generational black children. And we get them and teach them research methodologies that are on college level. And then at the end of the summer, they do a presentation to what they have learned for the rest of the community. Kennedy is an exemplar of the work that we've done. So I'm going to allow Kennedy to share some of the findings that she had from doing an analysis of the class of 1965 with Lincoln High School students and Chapel Hill High School students.
Good evening. My name is Kennedy Lytle, and I'm a junior at Carborough High School, and this is my second year as a James Cates Scholar and my first year as a James Cates intern, and I'm just here to share some of the research I did over the summer about the class of 1965. So I'd like to start with sharing why I decided to research the class of 1965. As a student of Chapel Hill Carborough City Schools, I find the achievement gap very interesting. Chapel Hill Carborough City Schools has the second largest achievement gap in the nation and has had that achievement gap since 2018 when Stanford University did a study on achievement gaps around the nation. And even though the school district says that they're working to close that achievement gap, on that amount of time that we've had an achievement gap, it looks like they haven't done much work. So, with some of the other student groups I'm a part of, I take it into my hands to try to solve the achievement gap. But I realized this summer that I didn't really look into why we have an achievement gap in the first place. So I decided to start from the beginning, researching Lincoln High School. Some of my thoughts before I started my research was I thought the exact same things that Miss Anita said that she thought, or what she was taught in schools, when teachers tell us that Black schools didn't have as much material or better or best teachers. so they didn't have the best education and they were actually doing worse than the white schools. And after I did my research, I learned that that was very wrong. I looked into the information that Miss Anita found in the North Carolina archives, and I decided to compare the class of 1965 from Lincoln High School and the class of 1965 from Chapel Hill High School, looking at the differences in their test scores. And I found that Lincoln High School was actually doing better than Chapel Hill High School, or in the same range as Chapel Hill High School with less material. So for example, at Chapel Hill High School, they had about like 18,000-ish books, while Lincoln High School had 3,000 books. But they were still in the same range in their English scores, which is interesting because Lincoln High School had less material, but they were still scoring high. After I compared that, I decided to compare that research to the most recent analysis of scores based on race in Chapel Hill Carbo City schools, which was from 2019 to 2024. And from my research, I saw it was looking at grade point averages for students. And from my research, I saw that Black students, out of all the other minority students and all the other races, Black students had the lowest grade point averages throughout those years. And throughout those years, their grade point averages were getting lower, while white students had the highest grade point averages, and they only lowered a little bit, but not as much as Black students lowered. And I also did interviews. I interviewed Mr. Earl Bynum, and I interviewed Miss Juanita Alston. I had a lot of fun doing those interviews. I found out about a lot of community that was at Lincoln High School, not only inside the classroom, but also outside the classroom, learning about how teachers would visit student schools and learning about how teachers and students and even the principal really knew each other outside of school. And they didn't just care about the students' grades, but they cared about why students were getting the grades that they were. So if a student wasn't doing as good in the class, they wanted to figure out why that student wasn't doing as good, and they wanted to bring their grade up. I also feel differently about the achievement gap, and I now understand why some people say opportunity gap instead of achievement gap. Because Lincoln High School students were not achieving. Like, they were achieving and they were doing excellent, especially without as much material as the Chapel Hill students. But they didn't have all the opportunities that the Chapel Hill students had. So Chapel Hill students had more books, Chapel Hill students had more testing opportunities such as SATs and ACTs, and they had AP classes and honors classes, which would in general bump up their grades, while Lincoln High School students didn't have those opportunities. And we do have those opportunities now in integrated schools, but instead of those opportunities being given to us like they are to white students, we usually have to seek out those opportunities, and we have to find them ourselves, which makes it even more difficult. In conclusion, I would just like to share why I think it's important for me to learn more about this information and also for my peers to learn more about this information. I think it's important because it breaks the stereotype that we learn in schools, that Black schools weren't doing as well as white schools, but Black schools were doing as well as white schools. They were actually doing better than white schools because they had a community, because they had a better morale. And I feel like if we break that stereotype, then we look more into our schools now, and we see that we don't have that morale anymore, we don't have that community anymore, and we need to rebuild that community to even get a little closer to closing our achievement gap. And I also have some handouts from my interviews with Mr. Earl Bynum and Ms. Juanita Alston, so I will be handing those out to you.
And y'all proud of Kennedy. You did so much legwork, gas time. We appreciate you so much. And you have enlightened us to things that we did not know. Right. If it were not for you, I don't think you all would know. I didn't know, did you?
No.
And I thank you all for this information. And if anything, well, we kind of knew you were smart, but you know, but you really brought it out in us. And thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Brian,
Luetti, love to have them all back. Janice, Slick, Clavon, Katrina, the Scholastic Sister Mabel, that class of 65, they laid it all on the table. Willie Mae, Margaret, Johnny, Paul Curtis, and Pete helped make this class so hard to beat. When it comes to versatility, this class has it all. When we all get to heaven, we'll definitely have a ball. When that final roll is called up yonder, when you hear that mighty thunder, there's a reunion in the sky of our fallen friends, no jive. Reunion in the heaven, Wildcats, Mighty Tigers, the class of 1965. Happy 60th reunion to you. We love you so much. If only we could reach out and touch. These fallen friends, how we wish we were alive. But then again, you are, through us, the class of 1965. And thank you.
Of this old world off our shoulders, the door is wide open for you. The door is open for me.
A tribute to Lincoln High School class of 1965. A moment to remember. As the music fades and the night grows still, our hearts are full with spirits filled. 60 years have come and gone, yet the tides we share still carry on. We laughed, we danced, we broke some bread. We honored those whose path we tread. We've cherished memories both old and new, and celebrated friendships tried and true. Though time has changed our hair, our pace, it's love and joy that fills this space. We are tigers, proud and bold, with stories rich and hearts of gold. So until we meet another day, may blessings gently guide your way. May health and peace with you abide as you carry forth that Lincoln pride. Thank you, classmates, near and far. You've always shined a guiding star. Let's part tonight with smiles and cheer, and hold this moment through each year. With love and gratitude, your reunion committee, September 20th, 2025.
Put your head on my shoulder, lean closer, and we're finding. Don't you wanna go? Don't you wanna go? We'll go out and we're gonna find.